This message, Strong Economy, Secure Tomorrow, is authorized by the BC Liberal Party, 1-800-567-2257. The opinions expressed in this program are those of the participant and do not necessarily reflect those of Global Television or Shaw Media. Hello, I'm Pamela Martin. Thanks for joining us. Today, our province is on the right track. In the provincial election this May, British Columbians will face a choice between Premier Christy Clark's plan to control spending, create jobs, and keep the economy growing, and another option, going back to the NDP and Adrian Dix, more spending and growing the government instead. Over the next 30 minutes, British Columbians will talk about what all this means for you, your children, and your grandchildren. We'll meet some of the new candidates Christy Clark has recruited, and we'll hear from the Premier herself about her plan to keep BC's economy on track by controlling government spending, implementing the BC Jobs Plan, and paying down debt. And we'll also talk about a new resource opportunity that could mean a debt-free BC in 15 years.
Yes, we had a family.
At your house?
When I signed up to run for Premier, I knew I wouldn't always do things that everybody liked and that there would be lots of criticism that came my way. But to me, the nature of leadership is sticking to your guns, and it's holding true to the values you were raised with and your principles. And that's what I've tried to do for the last 2 years. That is what leadership is about. And there's no point in being Premier if you're not prepared to lead. If I'm granted the privilege of another 4 years as Premier, the number one priority is going to be making sure that our economy is working for the people of British Columbia. Because I've always said, I want to put families first. And how do you put families first? You make sure that everybody has a job to go to so that they can look after the people that they love. The next step is to eliminate our debt. That's the next big step we need to take as a province.
This is my daughter. This picture was taken on her first birthday.
It's just a great place to raise a family. It's got great opportunities. There's a momentum in BC.
This is my home. It's not just where I have my house. The whole province is my home.
One of the greatest things about BC is there's so many industries that are growing right now. Basically, it's just getting out of university and choosing one that you're passionate about.
I think we have a very promising future.
We are a financially stable province, and I want and I must hand that over to my children.
I was born and raised in a house on the south slope of Burnaby. My dad was a school teacher in a public school, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And we lived in a 3-bedroom house with 6 people in it. We had this old 4-door blue Rambler station wagon. Back then, my parents made a lot of difficult decisions for us.
Despite the fact that we didn't have a lot of money, there was one thing that my parents made sure all 4 of us knew. That they would have been ashamed if they left us worse off than they'd been. My father would have been ashamed if he'd left me and my brothers and sisters with a penny of debt. And so, when he died, he left us a house that was mortgage-free, without a penny of debt on any credit card or bank account, and he prepaid his funeral expenses. So why is it, if it wasn't okay for Jim and Mavis Clark to leave me and my brothers with a debt, why is it okay for our government to leave our kids with a debt? Because my dad saw it this way. He knew that if he made some tough decisions today, and perhaps we went without, he was looking after something that was way more important, and that was my future. And that's the choice we have as citizens of British Columbia today. Do we want to look after our kids' futures? Do we want to give them the choices that they're going to want to have to be able to run this province when it's their term? Or do we want to take away those choices by saddling them with debt? That's why we want to balance our budget. Because we don't want to saddle our children with debt. We understand that if they want to have choices, they're depending on us to do that right thing today. And it's difficult, but it's important.
As a parent, I wouldn't want to leave any debt for my child.
We wouldn't want to leave our kids in debt, personally. You know, we would work extra years. We would extend our working years beyond normal retirement if it meant that we were able to provide for our own children and for our grandchildren.
And that's one thing I'm also very proud of BC for is their low debt. Christy Clark's plan to get rid of that debt in 15 years is absolutely realistic, but we all have to be on board with that.
We went up to Williams Lake to open up the rodeo. And then I'm standing there with my on the horse, and I'm kind of waving to everybody. And all of these other horses start galloping out. So my horse turns around. I haven't had a horse in 15 years. And he starts galloping out. And it just went around the whole, oh my God. It was the scariest moment I've had since I became premier. Seriously, I sit in the legislature and I listen to those guys yak, 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 and yell at me. And I just keep thinking, you're not as scary as that horse.
Here's Christine Day, who heads one of British Columbia's most successful businesses.
We employ about 1,500 people here in BC. We're also an economic engine for BC. We did have a decision to make recently around our headquarters and whether we should stay in BC or move to the States. And we made the decision to stay in BC because of the friendly business climate, the fiscal prudence, and the balance with which we see decisions being made. That it's not only a great place to do business, but it's a great place for our employees to live because of the quality of life.
When you get into this borrow, spend, tax cycle, it's a trap. Because in the long term, you borrow, you spend, you tax, you create more programs, bigger government, and then at the end of the day, what do you have left? You just have a whole mountain of debt that you leave for our kids. And that's the risk that's facing British Columbia today.
If we have a government that is changing or increasing the debt load, the next generation, I would definitely be worried about my kids and my future, which is the future of British Columbia.
My worries on that debt is that's what my daughters are going to be paying for. Long after I'm gone, they're still going to be paying for it. And that's not fair. My family has worked very hard to get this province where it is right now. And I need it to keep growing for them, their families, so their family can keep growing here and carrying on.
If we want to leave a legacy, that legacy would be a legacy of stability and of prosperity, not a legacy of debt.
It was 13 years ago now, but BC had a tough time in the 1990s. Under the NDP, we became a have-not province for the first time in our history. In 2001, we turned the page. The Campbell decade was about BC getting its house in order and climbing back out of the NDP's have-not status. 2 years ago, we turned the page again, and we're seizing new opportunities while much of the world is ducking for cover. Now, we're at a crossroads. Do we keep moving forward, or do we risk sliding back?
BC may be on the right track today, but it was a very different story in the 1990s. President Bill Clinton led North America to a booming economy. But here in BC, we were in tough economic times. Overspending by the NDP meant dozens of tax hikes. Income taxes were 60% higher than today. BC was in last place for job growth in Canada under the NDP. Former federal cabinet minister Stockwell Day has a unique perspective on the NDP economic record. Here's Stockwell.
You know, the last time that the NDP was in power here in BC, I was the provincial treasurer, Minister of Finance in Alberta, and I got to see firsthand the result of NDP economic policy. It resulted in runaway spending, higher deficits, more debt, and then a big increase in taxes to try and pay for it all. That meant investment left BC. That meant jobs, opportunities, and workers left BC.
The rest of Canada was booming, the states were booming, and this community and our surrounding area was just dead. The NDP 90s took a toll on me. I had to close up my business. I had to move on.
Over the course of about 3 years, I saw my business go from what seemed to be an exciting venture to the demise of my business.
We were disappointed to have our kids having to, a lot of them had to leave the province to get jobs, so it was pretty hard time.
My grown son, he's moved to Calgary and since stayed there.
And when you're exporting your children because you think they'll do better elsewhere, that's a pretty sad state.
People didn't have any hope for the future. They were just going day to day.
You know, there's only one thing worse than going to see a really bad movie. It's seeing it for the second time. We know what life was like under the NDP. We had the highest taxes in Canada. We saw people fleeing British Columbia. We became a have-not province for the first time in our history.
I am absolutely determined to keep government spending under control. We will continue to rein in the size of government.
We're all hired by the people, but we're appointed to cabinet by the Premier. And when Premier Christy Clark appointed me Finance Minister, she made two things abundantly clear. One, we're going to balance the budget. And two, we're going to make life just a little more affordable for BC families. Now, there were lots of doubters who said we couldn't balance the budget, but we did, we have. We've brought spending under control. It will only increase by less than 2% in the year ahead. And we've asked people with a little more to provide a little more, which is why folks earning more than $150,000 for the next 2 years will pay slightly more in income tax. It's the kind of discipline that Premier Clark has brought to government and brought to ensuring BC families have a more affordable future.
Some people said we could never find savings in government. That's nonsense. By freezing government hiring and reining in crown corporations, we've been able to invest in things that help families. We're investing more in healthcare, giving parents $1,200 toward training, college, or university for their kids. And we're reducing prescription drug prices to help our seniors.
Nice to meet you guys. Yeah, enjoy your day.
Thanks.
Enjoy your coffee.
Yeah.
Did anybody roll up the rim?
Yeah,
did you roll up the rim to win?
Yeah, we all lost.
Really? What did you win? Coffee. Oh, did you? Yeah. Oh, really?
Take it. Enjoy.
Well, listen, good luck.
Same here.
Good luck. I hope it goes well. Are you taking a picture of me? Is that okay? No, well, I think you should be in it. This is the problem. Get over here.
1, 2, 3. All right,
Thank you. You're welcome.
Nice to meet you.
One thing I do know is you don't change your carpet until your child moves out. That's what I've learned.
We like to change it yearly.
Hi.
Meet you, Christy.
Really nice to meet you too. Good luck.
And good luck to you as well.
Thanks. Gentlemen? Young gentleman? Oh, I've already met this young. He doesn't look young, he's so tall. What's your name? So what are you going to go into?
Law.
Oh, really? You already know?
Yeah.
What kind of law? Do you know?
Criminal.
Criminal law. Nice, getting the bad guys off the streets.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. So these are the two that behave themselves. They require the least discipline.
And these were the naughty ones, but they love me.
Well, we do have a big opportunity on the horizon, and I always say it's the opportunity of a lifetime because I don't think we have had an opportunity like the one we have with liquefied natural gas. It's a choice we have to make as a province. Do we want the economy to grow in the province next door, or do we want our kids to live here? I want you to live here. When 15 years from now, when you're 27, I want you to be able to make your home here and to be able to build your family here. I bet that's what you want. And I know what your mom wants. It's what I think what we all want for our kids. It's a universal human response to have the people that you love close to you. And you can't do it if the economy's not working.
And there's another choice that we have coming up in this election. And that's whether or not we want to bring home the economic growth that's going to come from selling our surplus supply of natural gas at 5 times the price we do here in North America and selling it over in Asia.
For 50 years, BC has led North America in the safe development of natural gas. Now we have an opportunity to liquefy our surplus gas and ship it to Asia, where it's a cleaner fuel than they use there today. Demand is growing rapidly. British Columbia is competing with Australia, Qatar, and other countries to build the plants and secure the contracts. The BC plan will place the government revenue in a prosperity fund, which will allow us to eliminate the provincial debt in 15 years. And that means we can spend money on health care and education instead of paying interest.
And we won't squander that money. We're going to lock it up, and we're going to save it for our kids. That is the difference. The thing that is often missing when we talk about it are all of the spin-off jobs that are available there. So for example, they make the machines that extract the natural gas in Rosedale, just outside Chilliwack, down in the Lower Mainland. The technology that's associated with improving the industry and making it cleaner, making it faster and more efficient and safer, that's done at universities down here in the Lower Mainland and on Vancouver Island. I mean, all these spin-offs are going to happen as a result of this. And it's such a big opportunity. We will never get a chance like this again.
Adrian Dix and the NDP are not being clear about their plans for natural gas in British Columbia. Dix himself has said that he supports the development of liquefied natural gas. Yet, their environment critic, Rob Fleming, called the ethical production of natural gas insanity, while their energy critic, John Horgan, is open to a moratorium on new production. In the 1990s, under the NDP, mines closed, forestry suffered, and thousands of people left BC to find work.
My biggest fear is that NDP takes over because we experienced NDP government before the Liberal came in, and under that government, right, BC was almost got ran into the ground.
The NDP of the past, which is really the same government, and the same players are there in the background, and they'll all appear if they do become elected. It'll be a repeat of running deficits and a few of the big unions running the store, really.
We're just on the verge of great things happening. Great things are happening already, and then we're on the verge of more great things that are happening, and a change right now would be a mistake.
I like where we are right now. I think we're a progressive, growing, vibrant province. Why would you change?
Broadcast group, and it's great that you're all out here to watch the firefighters make their way up to the top of the Canadian Tire building. So let's give
The responsible development of our resources is absolutely essential to keeping BC's economy stable and growing. The resource economy is at the heart of many of our communities. It's the thing that helps our small businesses thrive. That's why we need to find ways to get to yes, to encourage ideas that lead to billions of dollars of investment, ideas that help create jobs, ideas that grow our economy. We introduced the jobs plan in September 2011. We stuck to it, and we aren't backing down. And that means every day you're not getting distracted, you're not deciding you're going to do something else. It means being focused.
Premier Clark introduced the BC Jobs Plan in September of 2011. It is focused on 8 key sectors of our economy where there are clear goals and plans to achieve them. Last year, BC won an $8 billion shipbuilding contract, the largest federal contract in our history. Today, the world economy continues to be unstable and uncertain, so sticking to a comprehensive plan has never been more important.
All the decisions during a difficult time were well made based on the constraints and the situations at hand. And I think there's no reason to change that leadership based on that strong track record.
Everybody's working. In fact, we can't get people here right now. It's booming so much. The north We have billions of dollars of projects coming online. There's opportunity for lots of people out there, especially young people.
A good job means being able to give good values to your children, who are the future of your province.
We've increased trade with Asia. Mining investments are up, and forestry is doing better than ever. We're investing in the infrastructure we need to support this growth. We're also investing in the digital economy. And today, BC is home to the third largest clean tech cluster anywhere in the world. Our kids should be first in line for the jobs of tomorrow. In a world of economic risk, BC is getting stronger.
We had some good ministers there.
We
finance,
did, yeah.
Finance
And she caused nice!
Yeah.
If we want to create a province that's good for families, we need to make sure that people have jobs to go to. You know what the great thing is about your job? Is that this is your life, not your job.
So my son is not going to do the farm. My daughter would love to do the farm, but I got to find her a farm boy.
Brad Bennett's family has a strong tradition of leadership for British Columbia, with both his grandfather and father serving as premier. Here's Brad.
I think Christy exhibits a lot of the same characteristics as I witnessed over the years in both my granddad and my dad. There's a certain amount of toughness there. She's a doer. My granddad and my dad were doers, and the results are evident. She is fighting the good fight, and she'll continue to fight the good fight for all British Columbians, and that's what I feel really good about.
Those of us who sit in the cabinet room, we see the steely determination that is Christy Clark.
She also has a mother's wisdom. While it can be soft at the times when that's necessary and when there's a little tender, loving care needed, a mother's wisdom also knows when it's time to be tough.
Christy Clark absolutely knows how to make a decision, and that's what good leaders do.
She has that inner strength that comes with being a mom.
And the playoffs are the tight situations. The people that can elevate what they do are the ones that are going to be successful. And with Christy's team, I think they have a very good team to do that.
I'm Amric Virk. I've been a member of the RCMP for over 25 years, and I'm running for the BC Liberals in Surrey Tynehead. I'm running with Christy Clark because BC needs strong leadership and straight talk.
Premier Clark has dedicated energy and focus to expanding the sale of BC resources and value-added products overseas.
I'm running with today's BC Liberals because of Christy Clark's success in promoting BC in Asia. Last fall, Christy Clark went to Tianjin in China to attend the World Economic Forum. It's a very important meeting. She met many business leaders there, and she closed the deal. That shows that Christy Clark is a leader. She really knows how to do business, and this is really great for British Columbia.
Christy Clark, she's a tough cookie.
I think she's tough enough, but she's empathetic to other issues that need some warmth and feeling, as well as just the bottom line has to be like this or that.
Well, I think you should ask the Premier of Alberta if she's tough.
British Columbia needs to be respected. I believe it's my job to fight for BC, and I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to look out for our coast, protect our economy, because there's only one Premier of BC, and you can count on me to stand up for our province.
On many of the key issues facing BC today, Adrienne Dix has refused to take a stand.
I think a stable environment with opportunity is what we're after, and I think that's what Christy's bringing to us.
Christy Clark is a strong leader. She looks out for all British Columbians, not just special interest groups. You can see that in her approach to education.
I think it's time we got politics out of the classroom for kids. I think one of the best things we can do is pursue a 10-year agreement with teachers so that for a decade there is no possibility of a labor dispute for our kids. I mean, think about it. If your son or daughter is in grade 2 today, if they could get to grade 12 without missing a single day of school due to a labor dispute, I mean, that would be great.
I've been proud to represent Canada on the world stage, and I'm proud to represent today's BC Liberals in the upcoming election. We need to focus on strong leadership and a solid plan, and that's what we have with Premier Christy Clark.
On the big things that matter, we've gotten those right. Creating jobs across the province, keeping our economy secure and growing despite what's going on around the world. I mean, balancing our budget. And that didn't happen by magic. It happened because we worked hard at it. And so those big things are the things that worked.
And I know sometimes the people find it a little tempting to think about this in terms of a horse race. Who's ahead? Who's behind? Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? But as citizens of British Columbia, it's not a game for us. It's a choice. It's a very clear choice about what kind of future we want for our children. Do we want a future for British Columbia where our province, the province that we give to our children, is debt-free? Do we want a province in British Columbia where every year, year after year, we balance the budget, and in doing so, we say, rather than making decisions today for ourselves and shoving off the responsibility for those decisions to our kids, that we're going to take responsibility, that we're going to make responsible decisions for ourselves now that are going to assure the future of our children? Those are the questions we need to ask ourselves. We want to build an economy here where everybody has a chance to work, where everybody has the skills they need to work. We want to build a future. That's what we're all here to do.
Some people may tell you this election's already over, but it isn't. It's up to you to decide this election and no one else. It's about you and your family, and the choice you make will be felt for years to come. Do we move forward with a strong economy, or do we slide back to overspending and uncertainty with the NDP? I hope that you'll make sure that you're informed, and certainly make sure that you vote.
Since I became Premier 2 years ago, I've taken my fair share of criticism. And you know what? That's just part of the job. But I have never forgotten who I'm fighting for, and I never will. We've gotten the big things right. Standing up for families is something you can always count on me to do. I think you deserve to know exactly what I plan to do and how I plan to do it. So tomorrow, April 15th, I'm releasing our platform. It's called Strong Economy, Secure Tomorrow. And when you look at the platform, along with our balanced budget and the BC Jobs Plan, you can see exactly where we plan to lead BC. The past 2 years have made me a better Premier and a stronger leader. So now, Mr. Dix and I are both applying for the same job, the job of your Premier. And we're doing it at a time when our province is surrounded by economic risk. I hope Mr. Dix is held to the same standards and asked the same questions that I am. Let's compare our platforms, our visions, our plans, and our teams. Then let you, the people of BC, decide. Today, British Columbia is standing tall. And we're doing it at a time when a lot of the world, even our closest neighbors, are at risk and struggling. If we stick together now, if we take responsibility for our decisions, I have no doubt our best days are ahead of us. Thank you.
That's good.
If you ask me, Christy's getting her done.
There's a lot going on there. Ah!
They're not.
This message, Strong Economy, Secure Tomorrow, was authorized by the BC Liberal Party, 1-800-567-2257. The opinions expressed in this program are those of the participant and do not necessarily reflect those of Global Television or Shaw Media.